I don't know if you know, but Susan and Thomas know that I just returned from the Franciscan chapter in Sydney last night. And I told Susan and Thomas that I will plan and prepare the homily on my flight back. So on my flight back, I was watching movies. And the two movies I watched was Jack Neo's long time ago, part 1 and 2, and War and Peace, the BBC production of War and Peace. So, there goes the homily. But in a sense, I think that sums up 25 years of marriage. Long time ago, and War and Peace, yeah. In some ways, long time ago, during the time of the prophet Habakkuk, because when we were choosing the readings, we looked at it, and it didn't look like a very nice reading for a wedding homily. Because in about the year 600, the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, were creating war and chaos in Jerusalem. And Habakkuk cries out to God and says, "Why all this? Why is the world in this state?" And in some ways, it's timeless, because you can almost see the people crying to God and saying, "Why all this in the world today?" But what's interesting is that Habakkuk is the only prophet who dared to question God. All the other prophets did what the Lord said to them, but Habakkuk questioned God. And what did God say to Habakkuk? I'll need this. And what did God say to Habakkuk? God said, "Have a vision. Write that vision down in tablets and share it with the people." I'm not sure what vision you had 25 years ago when you got married. Or let's go beyond 25 years when you were in school and you had a vision of what your life would be and the man you had married. Was this the one? No?
This one better, more work.
Was better? Was she the one, Thomas? Was that your vision of what life would be?
Careful.
Putting me on the spot.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because many people get married and don't realize that actually that sacrament has nothing to do with a private, intimate love. Why I invited Thomas and Susan to venerate the altar with me is because the vision of married love that we celebrate in the Catholic Church is that they would witness, they would serve the community. It's exactly on the same level as priesthood in terms of service. God invites Habakkuk to write that vision down and invite everyone to share in that vision. And that's what you did 25 years ago. Probably you were thinking of the satay and the flowers. And over 25 years, as what St. Paul says, fan into flame and realize this vision. I now have to refer to my notes. Because if we then look at it, and I'll just see whether I'm being faithful, otherwise it's very dangerous. I'll go off key. Because if we realize that the vision of married love and about the kingdom of God is a much needed vision in today's world. Habakkuk cried out for that. The Lord said to write this vision down. And if people shared in this vision, then they will realize the kingdom of God. It was precisely in that struggle that Habakkuk had for the people of God. It's precisely when Paul was in prison that this vision of what truly sacramental love is all about keeps that flame going, and it fans into a flame. It is therefore sometimes quite confusing to wonder what that gospel has to do. But I hope I've prepared you already. Because you see, the mulberry tree in the culture of the people and in the land of the people was the tree that they knew to have dug its deepest roots in the ground. It was the most stable, a deep-rooted tree. If you could uproot a mulberry tree, you definitely have power. And that's why the presence of God was that awe. That's why Jesus said, just that faith in him would be able to uproot a mulberry tree. And I was thinking that today, I don't mean to be preachy, but today it seems to be very easy to uproot married life. It doesn't seem to be as deep-rooted as it is. And that's quite sad, because it's quite the opposite. It's not that faith, it's just the selfishness and the self-centeredness of our lives, that can easily dismantle that tree. And he's asking us to make sure that in our lives we celebrate that faith in him. But the part that perhaps goes against our hospitality is that we might think it's not nice. It's not nice that the servant who was plowing in the field is asked to lay the table first for the master. But I thought it was just so fitting, Thomas, of what life must be like at home. Because Susan says that that's what you do. You'll ask what soup and what is ready for dinner and sit down. What was the Lord trying to say to us? He's trying to say to us that it's not those acts of power that is something we should be all about. It's the one who can make it happen. That is what we should be all about. Not about our faith or our acts, but the one who is able to cause that to happen. 25 years you stand as a testimony against what in many cases would be a tree that's uprooted. You stand as a testimony of a mulberry tree that is deep-rooted. And just as the Lord is the one who is able to uproot trees, he's the one who has given you that grace. We might think it's all us, but that gospel just reminds us that it's about Him. The witness that we have in married life is not about us, it's about Him. And that's why Fulton Sheen says it takes 3 to marry, and of the 3 to marry, we diminish and He increases. So today we celebrate 25 years, not so much of all the things we have done and all the things that we have pulled through, but we celebrate 25 years of Him who has blessed you, of Him whom you have put your faith in. And in those tiny 3004 tiny small acts that gave that ascent to faith in each other, it is the Lord who has caused it to grow. And we celebrate with you because you stand as witness to us. May the Lord then continue to bless you. May you put your faith in Him even more. And we all are invited to realize that that start of the Eucharistic prayer of thanksgiving, it is our duty, it is our salvation, always, everywhere, to give God thanks for all that we have. Let us then celebrate with Susan and Thomas and their family this wonderful witness of God's love.